the president himself and the vice president, members of the NMC, and all officials at all provincial levels, district levels, constituency levels, and ward levels. We say, well done, this nation, for delivering these two son and daughter of this country. The nation owes you a debt of gratitude. We come to the main issue. First of all, we in the UPND Alliance, because of the violence, isolated instances of violence that has taken place, we in the UPND Alliance regret the loss of any precious life. The senseless killings of any of our brothers and sisters can only be applauded by those that benefit from acts of violence, no matter the circumstances. UPND Alliance partners are not counted in this group. It is in this regard that we'd like to extend our sympathies to the families of those who have lost their lives during yesterday's polling day. However, before anybody apportions blame as to who is responsible and who is not, we call for thorough investigations. That's what the rule of law demands. Thorough investigations to reveal the perpetrators of these crimes. We say this because history is full of instances where instances of violence were blamed on the UPND, when in actual fact it turned out to be false. The burning of the city market was blamed on UPND. It turned out to be otherwise. The gassing of our citizens up and down the length and breadth of this country was initially blamed on UPND, and it turned out that that was not the case. A number of people that have been killed, including the one who was killed in Livingstone, and not only was UPND blamed, but senior officials, including our chairman of elections, Gary Nkombo, was actually arrested for that crime. It turned out that that person was killed by fear. And that is why we are calling upon investigative agencies to look into this. First of all, when you have an instance of violence at a polling station, to blame one particular party is being totally irresponsible, especially before you have investigated it. Our knowledge is that the people who go to polling stations to cast their votes are not necessarily members of any political party. They may be members, but not everybody is a member. And that's why we're calling for proper investigations, so that those that have been killed and their families can have the justice that they deserve. In our view, also as an alliance, the culture of violence has its background in the outgoing patriotic regime, especially their violent behavior. They have a violent track record, especially towards their political enemies, real or perceived. In condemning Thursday's violence, the violent acts, it is imperative that we apportion blame or culture to the right people. We wish to boldly state here that it is the PF and its leadership that have created and nurtured the culture of violence in the Zambian politics. Before them, there were no pangas used for political violence in this country. Fellow citizens, as regards this particular election, We have compiled results through our private voter tabulation systems countrywide. And these PVTs indicate for us a landslide victory. And I repeat, indicates to us a landslide victory for HH and other UPND Alliance candidates up and down the ticket. Not only in one part of the country, but throughout this country. We further wish to dismiss PF's hallucinations that they have won, as indicated by the SG, Mr. Davis Mwila. Their attempt to create a narrative that does not exist shows how desperate they are. And in their press conference this morning, not only did they claim victory that does not exist, because wherever you went throughout this country, on the voting lines, you saw excited faces. Kabulonga itself, Kabulonga Boys, was a case in point when our presidential candidate pitched up there to vote, where people left their lines and started chanting his name and asking for it. Where all of us voted, we had similar pictures. In addition to claiming victory that clearly is not nowhere near them, the Davis Mwila made some maligning statements, maligning the peace-loving people of Northwestern Province, Southern Province, and Western Province. Those statements are regrettable. We indicate that there were instances of violence in those places is regrettable. I myself voted in Western Province yesterday, and I did not see any violence. And this is accompanied by the President Lungu's sending of more troops, specifically to these same provinces, even after the election has taken place. And this candidate that kind of claim. Also, Mr. Sean Tembo, the president of Patriots for Economic Progress, EP, for his magnanimity in constitution. The whole country, the whole world is looking up to you now to see whether you'll be able to exercise that statesmanship that is required of somebody who has been trusted with instruments of power such a long time. The Zambian people have gone through a lot, and they were looking to this election to be able to change direction. That they have clearly demonstrated, as is shown by results so far announced by the ECZ themselves and the ones that we know have happened throughout the country through our PVTs. There is no better way, Mr. Longo, to thank the Zambian people for the respect reposing to you, to give you the presidency of this country, than to bow out magnanimously and allow for peaceful transition of power so that the Zambian people can get on with their lives. But before that, they can celebrate this great victory that they achieved yesterday. UPND Alliance, we ask you to turn out in great numbers. You did not disappoint us. You came. We further ask you to protect your votes at polling stations. And the reports that we have received, that up and down this country, the people who stood on those queues, the men and women, the youth, ensured that there was very little wrong things going on. Those that moved around trying to stuff ballots into box were stopped in their tracks. You did what you could to protect your votes. And that's what we expected. Democracy is not for President HH, it's not for Madam Tarina Lumango. Democracy is for all of us as a nation. We thank you for being vigilant in yesterday's elections. But we further note that almost without exception, all the reports of attempted malpractice in various polling stations throughout this country appear to have pointed towards PF and the PF alone. We are not aware of even what this victory. We again ask you, Tarina Lumango's victory,